Isaac, hi. Dafna, hi. It's very nice to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. Why don't we start with a brief presentation, self-presentation, on behalf of each one of you on who you are, what you represent, the organization behind you, of course, and then we will be able to dive deep into the discussion, questions, and panels that we prepare for this session today. Isaac, why don't you start with this?
Sure. Everybody can hear me?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, perfect. So first of all, thank you, Tomer, and thank you, video, for the opportunity to discuss especially this time that is challenging for all of us. I would prefer to do it as we used to do it in the past, face-to-face with a large room and a large audience. But unfortunately, as you described, it's a challenging time for all of us. And I'm enjoying doing it via the Zoom right now, and be ready to answer any questions later on. A little bit about myself, about the company. I'm Isaac, Itzik in Hebrew. I grew up in Israel. I lived in the US. I moved to the US around 16, 17 years ago. Worked for medical devices for my entire career. The last company I worked for is Syneron Candela, owned by Shimon Echoes, very known entrepreneur, owns an incubator and medical incubator in Yokneam. After several years with the company, I realized that there is a real need, specifically for Israeli companies, to expand their operation to the US. I've been relocated twice to the US by two different medical public companies, primarily to establish their operation and start from ground zero. However, after providing some consulting services to another Israeli company, I realized that this is the time to do that. So in around 2015, we established Preferred Depot to provide basically management solution for foreign companies, with focusing and targeting Israeli companies. Why Israeli companies? At any given time, there are around 5,000 companies, high-tech startup companies that eventually will aim at the US market. And it's a small country with tons of technology. With all that being said, most of these companies do need help when they penetrate the US market, and I will explain and elaborate later on. I think and I believe that we are the first of its kind operational accelerator, dedicating, as Tomer mentioned, to assist not only global companies or mature companies, small companies as well, to expanding their operation to the US. Our company offers umbrella of services for startup companies across virtually any industry. We dealing with medical, non-medical, consumer electronics, and much more. I mentioned, and Tomer mentioned, we partner with both well-established companies, big corporations that themselves facing this challenging time and really in need of a solution that we're providing. And we also partnering with early stage companies. In addition to established companies, we assisting entrepreneurs to finding potential business partners that allows them to penetrate even further to the US and very quickly. Preferred Depot is registered with the FDA. The facility is registered, which I can later on explain what does it mean, facility registration versus 510K for those people that are familiar with medical device regulation. We also register or licensed with the medical device as a medical device manufacturing with California Health Department, which is a big deal, specifically for medical device companies that are not familiar with this regulation, that not only being registered with the FDA is not sufficient enough to provide what companies like ours providing. We also ISO 9001 2015 registered license. briefly about our services, and I will obviously elaborate later on if there are questions arise. We're providing calls, first of all, an address and a US phone number. So the company is in the US. And the second thing is the umbrella of services associated with the location, which is call center, dedicated call center. And I must mention that all of the things that we're doing, the day-to-day services we're providing to all of our companies across the board. And when I'm saying companies, we have about 60 companies. 70% of them are Israeli. 60% of the companies that we're working are medical. We acting like we are them. So when our call center agents are picking up the phone, we're mentioning the company names. Our agents are fully trained on their product, customers, database, systems, ERP, CRM. So everything is dedicated. Nobody knows about Preferred Depot, but the company that we partner with. We're providing technical support, which is depot service and also field service engineers if needed. We're doing in some degree assembly and packaging, order fulfillment, anything related to shipping. We can talk about it 2 hours now. Storage and distribution, inventory management, and business development. These are the main services we're providing. Very difficult to explain what we're really doing day to day. But if anyone wants to know a little bit more, I would be more than happy that if Tomer will share the information later on, I can explain and elaborate about the specific and how we're helping Israeli companies and other global companies. Tomer?
All right, excellent. Thank you so much, Isaac. I appreciate that. Dafna, why don't you take the stage and just explain a little bit about DeRose Associates and what you guys do, what you represent, just so we can quickly move on after to the discussion, the main portion of the night.
Definitely. I just want to say thank you, Tomer, for facilitating this great online event. And I have to say I'm proud to be here also with Isaac. We have a few clients that we are working on together, and it's amazing to see the level of the support and services that you give Israeli companies. So I'm very happy to be here today. Thank you, everyone. My name is Dafna Rolls. I established DeRose Associate 14 years ago in Boston. We are a boutique business development firm that specializes in one main service, which is appointment setting. We help our clients get meetings with their target market throughout the process of research, work on their LinkedIn, and cold calling. Today people ask me, do you still do cold calling? Yes, but we are doing smart calling. We learn about your prospect. We have a ways of getting their attention throughout the very noisy time that we are right now, and making sure to bring our clients to qualified sales meetings. We are working with many different verticals. It could be medical device, cybersecurity, manufacturing, service providers. We have a very strong work methodology, and our goal is to help companies. We can work with very small companies that are starting the first steps in the US or Europe, and we work with established companies that want to grow their sales. Thank you. Was it short enough?
It was very short. Dafna, we did have some technical difficulties, so we had some side noises on the background. Just so you know, why don't you try and log in through your phone? We will continue this. Try to log in between, just so we'll be able to hear you better. All right, Isaac, we're gonna have Dafna joining us in just a few moments. But I am going to ask a first question, just so we can start discussing and dealing with sales and operations on the U.S. ground in kind of remotely for global organizations, and what type of solutions and how they can relate to the new era when in crisis times physical access might be a little more difficult than usual. So I'm going to present the first question. If Dafna is going to join us in later and didn't hear the question, I'm going to repeat it for her. But Isaac, why don't you give us an example of a very crucial point under your operation, of course, that foreign companies don't know in your eyes, in your vision, in which causes severe implications on their financial balance?
Tomer, I think I lost you. Can you say it again?
Yeah, I'm going to repeat the question. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I was presenting the first discussion question. The question is, why don't you give us an example of a very crucial point under your operation that foreign companies in your vision don't know, in which causes severe implications on their financials?
Sure. So I'll try to make it very, very brief, so we can elaborate on each one of them later on. But I think most of the foreign companies underestimate the cost associated not only with establishing operation in the US, but also maintaining these costs. There are many hidden costs ranging from insurance, inventory visibility, liability, worker compensation, and etc., to ongoing licensing, regulatory compliance. These are the things that are often not sufficiently appreciated or on the radar. There are so many things, and as you may know, sales tax collection, reporting, employment compliance, that simply companies do not see the day-to-day. And these are many things that are creating a lot of frustration and a lot of implications when it comes to the financial balance or the financial state. And most importantly, the US is a very unique patchwork of state and federal laws regulation. Conducting businesses in the US require companies to navigate or access to this market that is about 300 million consumer. So I think these are the main things that I'm facing. I see that affecting the financial balance. People don't know, they assume they know, but there are much more to know and to learn before they're taking steps to obviously begin their operation or maintain their operation in the US, especially this time.
Excellent. So Dafna, we have you, but can we hear you? Can you speak for a second? Yeah, we can't hear you, Dafna. Something is wrong on your mic. We can't hear you. All right. Isaac, I'm going to toss over another question to you in the meantime before Dafna is joining us again. How would you recommend a client to analyze the US market on a cost per value basis when it comes to determining which state to focus on, when it comes to, obviously from your side, from the operational cost focus, of course?
So first of all, it's a very broad question, and what state, and I can give an example. When I worked for Cineron, they began their operation or the first activity with a person that was based in Chicago. Why Chicago? Whatever reasons they choose back then. But then they realized that they made the, Tomer, can you see, can you hear? I lost, yeah.
Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yes,
okay, yes. Keep going.
But then they realized that they made probably a mistake because the competitor over here working with the Asian market was much beneficial for the company to have their office in the West Coast. This cost the company about $4 to $6 million just to shut down the operation there and establish a new one in the West Coast. So choosing the state, it's a critical decision that the company need to make, a critical decision that the company need to make, but not only from an operational standpoint, common to take short-sighted view that locations decision is based on which state has most friendly business taxes, or worse yet, less travel time for visiting from Israel. There are decisions that company makes. I hear all the time that companies wants to, they opening their company in Delaware, primarily Israeli companies, which is not necessarily the smart way to do that. I always strongly recommending to speak to BDO and the expert that can guide them which state to open there. And it's various. It changed. So many things are involved when you take a decision which state to open. For sales, this is a very company-specific question and comes down to strategy and planning. Again, deciding which state the company is going to be operated is primarily based on sales, based on tax, and I would always consult with the expert to do so.
All right, excellent. Unfortunately, we still cannot hear Dafna. We will try to tap with her very shortly as soon as she logs back in. Why don't we ask? Why don't we get another question dealt with? This time, I want to try and estimate or try to kind of list down the needs of that needs to be maintained and allocated by an operation on their ground base. So let's talk about an Israeli operation from the Israeli grounds. In order to make the connection to your operation, to Preferred Depot as an example, as an external solution, of course, as effective as possible.
So it's funny because I shared the PowerPoint with Rachel, and I said, Rachel, can you also answer some of this question? I want to hear your opinion. And it's funny, I can show you what she wrote and what I wrote on the something related to needs, company needs. And we both put on the same slide, communication. So I would start with communication. People must know each other. We need to know who are the people, who are the peer people that we're working with. They need to know what we're doing. We many times conducting training, sales training in our offices, and it's such a different where all the teams, especially the sales people, sales on the ground people, sales team on the ground, coming to the office, see the people, talking to the people. It's so helpful. Obviously, it's very difficult when you have remote peers, but working as a team with full transparency and feel that we are partners and we have the same goals, 100% will resolve many of unnecessary issues. It's not only issues between us and its Preferred Depot as a vendor to the companies, but between the company with their customers and users. I think another thing that is very critical to the success of these solutions that we're providing is to provide clear guidelines and processes and training, if any certificate, any information about the product, and as well as expectation from us. This will help so much. I put something on my list here that they must listen to the expert. I'm sure Dafna is facing this, and 100%, we spoke about it a couple of times, but many times I'm dealing with Israeli companies. I almost on the phone with Israeli companies every day, and many of them just need to listen to the expert. They should not assume that just because they lived once in the US in the past, they know. First of all, it's a different time than leave. Doing it as a company versus as individual is completely different things. There are so many things that as a company, you must make sure that you're taking care of, and you cannot assume. Sometimes these assumptions cost the company much more money and put in the company in many, many risks. I always suggest to communicate, to act as a partner, and be transparent with the companies that you're working with. This is my advice here.
All right, Isaac, thank you so much. Dafna, we have you back on. Why don't we give it a try? We started dealing with the questions. Let's try to give the address from the sales side of the operation. So the first question that Isaac already answered was giving an example of a very crucial point under your operation that foreign companies don't know in, which causes severe implications on their financials.
Wonderful. First of all, I want to apologize for all of the technical problems. I was on Zoom all day long, and when I'm being recorded, it started. My apology. It's I cannot control everything, although I try to. So my answer to this question is the main thing that I see, mainly with Israeli companies, is that there is a big gap on what is the right salesperson to hire. And when Israeli companies are hiring a salesperson in the US, there are many things that needs to be considered. But on the financially part of it, they need to think, where is this person located? Because when they hire him, they look at his background, what he did, and it seems like a great fit. And I always say when I give lectures, keep in mind that salespeople, the best sales that they will do is in their interview. So make sure that you are hiring the right person. But let's say that they did hire the right person into their organization. It's very important where they're located. Let's say that it's a medical device that works with many hospitals, and this person lives in an area in the US where there aren't many hospitals. At the end of the day, they will negotiate about the salary, but their main cost will be a traveling plan, the hotels, and it's very important to think, am I targeting the East Coast? Should I have a person there? Do I want to start there? Maybe after a few months, they will realize that the West Coast is more relevant for them. So it's very important to think about the location of your salesperson to reduce traveling costs. Another fact to consider is when you hire a salesperson and he promised that he comes with his own Rolodex and connections and everything, it's very important to see how much support would he need. Do you need to buy database for him of your target market? Maybe you already have it. Is he enrolled in different organization that is relevant to your field? All of those things are costs that are in the end will be very dramatic for small companies. So those things need to be considered.
All right, excellent. I think that it kind of it circulates the full picture when it comes to how you aim and how you prepare your operation for this, for working in crisis times like these. Another question we already presented to Isaac and we dealt with, I want you also to give your perspective on it, was how would you recommend a client to analyze the US market on a cost per value basis when it comes to determining how to penetrate, where to penetrate from, let's say, for example, which state to focus on. And obviously, we're talking from the sales operation.
Of course. So here again, working with many companies in different verticals, I think it's extremely important to understand where your market is. Are you going to do sales all over the US? Are you going to approach clinics in your field all over the US? Or would you like to focus on the East Coast? Definitely, if part of the sales, you should have a technical person joining the call, but this technical person is sitting in Israel. Definitely consider to start your operation in the East Coast, time different wise. Or maybe if you consider of working, I will give an example of hospitals today because it's a very warm industry that we work very hard with them right now. So definitely in the mid-USA, like Detroit, Texas, There are many hospitals located there. And instead of going and trying to target 100 hospitals, maybe you can find something like Harvard that have 100 hospitals under them, and to start with the headquarters. So it's very important to focus on understand your industries, understand where the headquarters is sitting, and create a strategy for yourself. You cannot cover all of the US, especially in situation where you need to travel between all of the meetings. I know it's very popular today, the Zoom, but at the end of the day, we will be back of doing the face-to-face meetings, and it's costly and we need to prepare for it.
All right, great. So, I mean, I can relate to the last part of what you said. Personally, I don't think that face-to-face is going to be replaced by anything virtual. It's going to be a kind of a mid-range solution to just get some of the communication levels a lot easier to pursue. But at the same time, people are going to, the way I'm looking at it, people are going to still consider sitting in the same room with a person, especially from an American perspective. American culture is very conservative. I don't really see anything changes. Yes, the volume of physical and face-to-face meetings are going to be reduced, but eventually it's going to come down to that. Dafna, very quickly, another question that we were able, we start having some questions coming in from the Q&A. So we're going to tap those very quickly, very shortly. But the last thing I want to ask you is that if you are meeting with an Israeli organization and you want to help them and they want you to help them on their sales development, on their lead generation obstacles in the U.S. market, what do you need for that operation to maintain for you? We're talking obviously for an Israeli organization towards the U.S. market. In order for you to make the connection to the solution that you're enabling them a lot more effective than, I don't know, in any other situation.
I think what is very important that there will be a strong communication with marketing. We are supporting sales. We bring the sales meetings in. Sometimes we will work on a lead. We will send them information, and then marketing start with a wonderful campaign that they created, but they start sending so much information that when we approach this lead again, he will say, "Thank you, I'm overwhelmed, I have enough information." Overall, what I see, there should be a strong connection between marketing and the sales support and the salespeople. So this is something that is extremely important. Before you start your sales approach to the US, it's very important to make sure that your LinkedIn profiles is upgraded, they're in their best, that your website looks good, that you have a very strong one-pager. You don't need to spend so much money on the branding if you're in early stage, but you need to have an online strong presentation, because when you do cold calling, when you approach companies that never heard about you, during the call, they immediately Google you. They will immediately pull up your LinkedIn profile, and it should be perfect. So those things are very important. And the main thing that I emphasize to companies is communication between inside sales to marketing. When they all work together, they empower one another and they become a strong team that brings wonderful results.
All right. Excellent. So I'm switching to a speaker view just so we're all going to be on the same screen for a second. We're going to summarize after we deal with the questions. I see 3-4 questions that we were presented by part of the attendees. Basically, what you've described so far with respect to the questions that we tapped is that you can really have a remote operation with respect to the US market sitting all the way back in Israel, managing your operation from there, managing the company from there, but at the same time have your own sales managers and operational managers deal remotely with outsourcing services, outsourcing solutions that will probably create some sort of a leverage to the operation. I think that in times like these, we can definitely see this as an advantage over the market. It will definitely save you time with all the quarantines and the lockdowns and the fact that we don't really know what's going to happen with air travel and how that's going to look like in the next few months. But with people and boots on the ground from the sales and the operation, I think these are great solutions for very major challenges that companies are facing on a daily basis. I'm going to switch back to the Q&A that we have. I'm going to start with the first question. This one is coming from Hadar. Hadar is asking us, if I am trying to bring in a new product to the US market, what kind of challenges I can see today as a result of the COVID-19 situation? I guess this is a question that Dafna, maybe you can help, but Isaac, I think that you can also tap that from your connections. And obviously you know the volumes of exporters, Israeli exporters shipping in goods to the US market. You can probably vouch for some of the volumes and what's more demanded today as opposed to regular times. But Dafna, why don't you start with that, and Isaac will cover that with you shortly.
So it's very important to know if it's a product that it's in the cloud or it's a physical product that you need, and you need to analyze. The first thing that you need to consider and think about is what is your target market buying habits. We just discussed it, Tomer. Do they need face-to-face meetings, or is it okay to send them a video of how this product works and to do an online presentation? So you really need to understand the way they buy. The best thing I would recommend is to approach some of your target market, and we have done it with many of our clients. And the first meeting that you're doing are not sales meeting, you call it design partners meeting. You approach them and you say, as an expert in your field, as a leading company in your field, I have this product that I'm about to sell, and I wanted to hear your feedback. I wanted to learn from your experience. How would you, and you will get the information from them. But when you approach someone in this way, you approach them as an expert, and it's a wow. You give them feedback, you give them respect to what they do, and they will share so much information with you. Just share a LinkedIn message. I looked at your company, I looked at your profile, I want to learn from your experience. But make sure that you're creating a list of questions. It's not just about getting to this meeting, is knowing what questions to ask. And the question to ask is buying habit. How long does it take to make decisions? And I don't want to take too much of Isaac's time, but prepare those questions, learn from your target market. They will give you the answers.
Excellent. Isaac, you want to tap that? You want me to repeat the question?
No, I see the question. I responded that I will answer live. Hadar, nice to meet you, although I don't see the face, but I would start as a question to you, because it's different between medical devices to non-medical devices. But today, definitely there are many things that you should consider, and there are many challenges. And as we see these changes daily, almost daily. The opening states, some of the states are closed, but I'll start with medical devices, yes or no, if you're selling on Amazon or not. Everything related to importation is changed, everything. If you're importing product from China, not only that the president is making everything difficult is prior to the COVID-19, now it become even more difficult for companies to import product from China, and it delays everything. We have many companies that were lucky enough to survive this time, but they were over-promising to their client. I can give you an example of a company that sells the PPE products, all these equipments that are really essential for this time. They put their hands on some manufacturing in China, and they failed to import this product on time. I can tell you even that we have companies that shipped from China product that are very essential, and other stole it. So not only that you're facing challenge with importing this product to the US, but I must say that the custom and the regulation here is going easy on companies that are trying to import products related to the COVID-19. I was personally approached by the management at Amazon asking me if I can, because we are registered as a medical company, if we can put hands on this product. So if this is a product for PPE, you're lucky, you can enjoy from this time. Other things that you need to consider are challenges today. Even Amazon, they prioritize their shipment for the PPE, for the essential product. So if you order, I don't know, drinks or things that you wanted, iPhone case that would ship within a day or two, today they're giving it 4 to 5 days, which even though you are a prime customer with Amazon, it's a challenge. People don't get their product, and the level of frustration is much, much higher. People placing orders and they're expecting it right away. They're sitting at home and all they do is picking up the phone or sending an email complaining. Keep in mind that people have time. So they writing reviews, negative reviews. They're upset. They are so anxious to receive product or whatever they ordered. And if it doesn't come on time, then it opens a different level of frustration, where they sharing their frustration on the social media with your other customers. Employment, many of these companies that providing these services did not survive this time. Therefore, they let their employees let go. And this creates another issue because these people live with knowledge. So if I would work with you for, let's say, 2 years, and then now you have a new product that you want to bring, people that know you, that used to talk to you on a daily basis, weekly basis, know the system, they're not longer with the company. It's very hard to find people that can help you during this time. Another thing that you need to remember is the cost of the product, the cost of goods. It's also a challenge. Can be it's a wonderful product. So many of these companies that I mentioned, that they have these essential products, they buying it very, very cheap. In order for them to ship it to their customers, that it will deliver on time, they need to pay a little bit more money for the services. Now, companies like us, I will do anything for it, but I have no control on FedEx and UPS. So if they need to ship it, suddenly the cost of the shipping sounds a little bit more, it is a little bit more higher than normal, because you want to prioritize differently. Otherwise, you'll get complaints on the phone or on the social media on your. So the cost of product, if it's very, very low, then you will face a challenge, because someone needs to do the job for you. You need to pay for shipping, you need to pay for the labor, for the order processing, and all these kind of things that sometimes it's not necessary. So you need to know if the product is essential and the cost of good. What else? Yeah, that's it. They have different things if it's related to medical, but importation, customer service is very important. Technical support if it's involved, physical product that require technical support.
All right, awesome. Another question that we received, this one is coming from an anonymous. So Mr. Anonymous asked, would you recommend an Israeli operation to open today, I guess he means, under COVID-19 situation? Would you recommend an Israeli operation to open a US subdivision to support their American sales efforts? So I guess what Mr. Anonymous is trying to see, if would you recommend, as folks that have boots on the ground on the US market, would you recommend an Israeli company that doesn't yet have an actual figure on their own in the U.S. market, do you think it's a good timing for them to consider an actual penetration, opening a subdivision over there and starting to expand their operation? Who wants to take it first?
I can start. First of all, again, it's always about the product. Depending on the product, the needs, but I would say that, and I'm telling everywhere I go, being able to sell in the US and try to do it remotely, it's not going to work. So either you find partners that really can represent your company, either if it's a distributor that take over of everything, the operation, and obviously the sales, or you have at least a management team based in the US. It doesn't matter right now which state, but I always recommend that there is at least a representative. In our case, we're representing the company, so I don't want to advertise the company, but I think it's important to find someone that is based in the US, and I don't think the COVID-19 is a question, it's a timing, yes or no. There is a need, this time also opens tremendous opportunities for companies in any aspect. If you were thinking to do it before the COVID-19, so you would probably want to change the strategy because things change. I will be very happy to take it offline and share with you what I think. But yes, you need a sales representative. You need at least one person that is on the ground here that can not only communicate with the local and the customer, like local vendors and the customers, but also be able to share the situation with the company in Israel.
Dafna, do you wanna respond to that as well?
Yes, shortly. First of all, I have to say that I agree with Isaac. I would recommend companies that were considered entering the US before COVID-19. There are many opportunities right now for you to be in Israel and to reach your target market at this time. People are more open to listen. Most of them are still home. You can reach your target market, you can present yourself. I don't think that you will see the sales coming in easily or in a short time, but it's definitely a good time to start entering the market, creating an awareness for your services or product. So I think there is a lot that can be done at this time, but definitely, as Isaac said, you need to rethink about your strategy.
All right. I have 3 more questions, but I'm going to stick to just one of those that I think pretty much covers. We can't really keep talking forever. I mean, I can, but our audience, we're going to lose them at some point. The question is coming from Revital. Revital is asking, where would you say is the best geographic area to penetrate the US market with food goods from sales perspectives today? So what she's asking is a food manufacturer from Israel. They're looking at the US market. They see that obviously is a great target market for them. In times like that, crisis, no crisis, however you want to relate to this question, but I guess she's asking under COVID-19 situation, where do you think is the best geographic area to penetrate from a food perspective? Dafna, I see you raising your hand.
Yes, good question, Revital. We had a very interesting case study about it. I will share it shortly. We worked with a company who wanted to address the biggest food chain in the US. So we created a database of them, and you never know who is the decision maker. Sometimes it can be the innovation center, sometimes it can be the operation, sometimes it can be the financial guy. In different organizations, the right person to speak with could be someone different. And the reason I mention it is those organizations are so big, you may start with the headquarters in New York, end up in Minnesota, speaking with someone else, and your meeting will be at the West Coast. So when you work with those very big companies in the US, we start approaching them, but then as you start moving through the gatekeeper and the decision maker, you don't know the location. So short answer, to make it short, you never know a specific location. And this is on my perspective. I probably should know better about what you're looking for, and I will be happy to answer it to you later on if needed.
All right, Isaac, before you tap that, I just want to add on, because I think that there are a lot of technical regulatory questions when it comes to how to penetrate the market, where to open the market, when to open a company, where to establish an operation, etc. Those are classic cases where BDO and other firms, of course, are more than capable of collecting data through our global chain, through our global, the US operation of BDO in this case, and gather up any piece of information that will be able to make the decision a lot easier and with less risks. I think it's a technical question. It's not about the way I'm looking at it. I think that, and obviously I think you're both going to agree with me. I think that the US market is a huge market, and it doesn't really matter. There's no real geographic area that is better for you as a food manufacturer from Israel to penetrate from. It's the question of where is the best turf for you to plant your seeds, to place your boots for the first time when it comes to establishing a good financial organization that is paying as less and with as much as exposure as you can to all of the potential targets for your operation as a target potential. Isaac, why don't you tap that also from your end?
First of all, I 100% agree with both of you, and specifically for BDO, they are very expert in many ways. Now, they are always happy to refer their customers or friends or relatives or whatever you call it. They have so much connection. You can imagine individual, I always see in the social media, people asking questions, but they're asking questions, where can I find a lawyer? Where can I find tax, whatever question. But if they're going to a firm like BDO, then even if they don't want help, even if it's so expensive, which I don't think it's expensive because in the long run, it's very, very cost effective. But even if you're not going to collaborate with BDO, I'm 100% positive that BDO will give you tips that worth a lot of money. And I agree with Tomer, if it's a big country, depending if you're manufacturing, I'm not sure if the product manufactured in Israel or if you want to sell a product that will be going to a food product that will going to be if it's going to be manufactured in the US, or it's depending if it's a cannabis CBD or if it's meat or if it's a dairy food. So it's very, very important to know because if it's meat, there are places that you want to collaborate with. There are well-established companies that can do that with the not only efficient way, they covered all the regulation and all this. It's a big deal. The US food regulation is really, really, really big. And you want to consult with many, many people as you can. And I would start with BDO because they have connections. If you want to be specific about your product and share with us, I can maybe introduce you. We cannot help you with food. We don't store food in our location. I don't want to deal with food because, again, the regulatory around food product is huge. But I may be able to introduce you to other companies that will deal with it, that will give you another tip. You can get another tip for another one, another one, another one. But try to focus on the big firms that can help you and not individuals. Sometimes the answer that I see in social media, very confusing, not to say not correct even. So this is my insight on this question.
All right, excellent. Switching back to gallery view, just seeing both of you on the same screen. I think that the keyword from everything that we talked about when it comes to questions about how to penetrate the market during crisis times or non-crisis times I think it's all about conducting a very deep, thorough research on how to maintain your operational and strategy plans, sales strategies, and how to implement those, whether you're doing it internally or externally with outsourcing solutions. When it comes to actually the actual operations, you need to understand what you're dealing with, what kind of product you're dealing with, what type of resources that are external that you need in order to make those outsourcing services effective for your operation to be successful over there. So there are a lot of things that you need to do, and the more conversations you're going to have and discussions you're going to have with experts that are dealing with it on a daily basis, I guess you're minimizing the risk as much as you can. I think we're gonna settle with these questions. Isaac, Dafna, I want to thank you. Why don't you give me a very brief conclusion on everything we talked about from your own point of view? Dafna, why don't you start with this one?
Okay, thank you. First of all, I want to say I speak with many of my clients and with potential clients that are considering, should we push on ourselves right now, or should we wait? What is the best strategy right now? And I'm referring COVID-19 in the US. And I want to say something that this is a term that I've been using for the last 2 months, and for myself as well, business perspective and also on a personal level. Churchill said, don't waste a good crisis. And I think it's a wonderful phrase, just don't waste a good crisis. There is so much that can be done at this time. There are so many things that we cannot do. We cannot travel, we cannot go to trade shows, events, many things that we were very used to do, but at the same time, those budgets are open. You don't spend the money on traveling and on trade shows and many other things, but at the same time, there is still so many things that can be done. You can have many online sessions with your potential clients. You can approach them. You can have a one-on-one with them. You will be surprised. Most of our clients in January and February, when we used to try to do a web session for them to approach their target market, they used to get nice people. Right now, we are doing the same things, same marketing for them on those web sessions. They're getting 200 people instead of 50 that they used to get. People want to listen, people want to hear, people are more open-minded to learn. This is a great opportunity and a great time to fill up your pipeline, to be in front of your potential clients. So when the time will come to push on your sales, your pipeline is full with warm, qualified leads. I will be happy to help anyone who is needed. There is such a great people here on this webinar who can help you with so many aspects of your business needs. If it's Tomer from BDO and Isaac who have so much knowledge of everything that you need, take this time to use all of this information and to push your business. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Isaac, your closure?
Agree with Dafna again. I think the time is right, is now. People need to work on reassess the product, reassess the systems they're using. It doesn't make sense that without the COVID, they're busy, they're sending emails, they have so many questions, so many issues, and now when everybody's sitting in their house, suddenly completely disappear. Some employees didn't lose their job, therefore they need to take advantage on this time and make sure that the product is registered, the regulatory is covered, the internal processes, training sessions, train the people right now. Very, very important to do that. Don't wait. Make sure that you're providing excellent customer service, even now, which is maybe triple the importance of what we had before. Make sure that you can support people changing their expectation, people expecting now something else. The demand for many products are here. Don't assume that if it's not an essential product, your product is irrelevant. People still buying, I'm as a consumer buying other products, many other products, people sitting in the house and they shopping a lot. And I think that having a clear message to your customers, as well as strategy of how to bring new product to the US and how to maintain current product in the US, this is the time. We're facing a lot of challenges with ERP systems or CRM, social media, LinkedIn. This is the time to fix it. This is the time. I'm taking so much of my time on one-on-one meetings with companies that we're working with, because they are still employed by the company, and they're not necessarily busy as they should be. And we take advantage on fixing many of the things that need to be fixed now, because things will change very shortly, or we already see the change.
All right. My closure is very, very sharp. I think that, I'm running the US Israel desk at BDO, which is a joint venture between BDO Israel and BDO USA. We come across a lot of companies that are on the track line in between these two markets. We're trying to help them as much as we can, not just from the core services aspects, obviously, that BDO can provide to them, either from the Israeli or US side, but also from anything that's going to be padding the sidelines of their operation and assisting them to create a very successful, but also very balanced and strong operation that will be able to drive long distance. I think that what we've discussed today is very, very important. I think it's a major part in a company's ability to grow and to overcome major crises like the one that we're facing. I believe that the COVID-19 is something that obviously we haven't seen for the last 100 years, and I don't know when is the next time we're going to see anything like that. But I think it definitely taught us a lesson. The lesson is that you always have to be prepared. You always have to think about what type of solution you can pull out of your sleeve that's going to be abnormal, that's going to be way out of the regular strategy. So you need to have some sort of emergency plans for those crises to come. I think that with solutions like the ones we've presented today under DeRose Associates and Preferred Depot are great out-of-the-box solutions that companies can remotely use and utilize whenever they are working globally and they have any kind of challenges, physical challenges, to go beyond their geographical territories. So having said that, I want to switch back to gallery view. I want to thank you both, Isaac, of course, Dafna. I want to thank you all for joining me today. All of our attendees, the listeners, I want to thank you for taking the time. It was very, very enlightening for me personally to hear those things. Questions and the feedbacks we got back from the audience were amazing, very sharp. And I think that we managed to provide some very essential tools and also a lot of good information for people to think and reflect on the more they go. The details, contact details for Dafna and Isaac, obviously, I'm happy to toss them over. So whomever it is that out there on the third party position, feel free to contact us. If you don't have direct contact to Isaac or Dafna, I'll be happy to make this intro. Isaac, Dafna, again, thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Good morning, Isaac, Dafna, good afternoon, and good evening to you as well.
Please share the contact with the audience. We don't charge for any, like BDO, we're always happy to share some of the insight free of charge. Business will come in the future if needed, but we, both Dafna and I, always open to answer questions, even via emails, or if you want to pick up the phone and just call, just make sure that you call on my time, not your time.
All right, awesome. So thank you again, everybody. Best of luck for everybody. And if anything comes up, don't hesitate to give us a call. We'll be happy to help you with anything. All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.